Hey guys, I'm Brian.
And I'm Terry.
And welcome back to the Forest to Farm Project. We hope you guys enjoyed the time lapse of the digging out of Terry's crawl space. If you didn't see that, check up there. It's a link for it. And yeah, somewhere over there.
There? Yeah.
Today we're going to take you guys through the details of what it took to get this crawl space dug out. We couldn't show you the entire thing in real time. That's why we did the time lapse. Today we're going to take you through the steps of digging out, leveling with the Transit, all that good stuff.
Just the basic concept.
Yeah.
We could have spent all day showing you every step of the way, but it's a repetitive task.
Yeah.
You dig and you move the dirt and you dig and you move it. It's not complicated. It's just,
it's not
you gotta
rocket
figure it
science.
out. You got to rent a skid steer and start digging dirt. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You know,
the tractor
basically
would do it. It'd probably take a week.
Yeah. The skid steer was a blessing. It's worth the investment.
Yeah, it's definitely worth the money.
Yeah.
But that's about all there is to it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's a little longer than normal, but full of good content.
Oh yeah. Okay guys, so we've got our Transit set at the depth that we want this bottom of our crawl space to be, and that is right about there. It's a little bit off, a little bit low right there. So the outer edge here, we took our time. We got the center that we could backfill and not worry about, pretty level where we wanted it first. Then we're going around the edges where the footings are going to be, and that's where it's kind of crucial. You don't want to get too deep and mess anything up there. So now we're going to skim off. There's like a pie wedge right here, and we're going to skim that off and get it level. And what we're going to do is find out with this, the beeping sound obviously tells me when we're at the right level, and now we're above it. So we want to start cutting right here and cut that pie wedge out. We wouldn't want to start back here where we're already at the proper level. We want to start where it starts going uphill. That's good. That's it. Perfect. Perfect. Oh, put that in the red dirt. Right there, go. That's it. Red dirt. So what we were doing here is, originally we came in and we took out the center of the crawl space area, not where any of the footers would go around the outside of the house where the actual walls are going to be. We just want to get the inside as close to level as possible and a little bit of this outside. And now what you're seeing us do is take that last little bit of dirt off to get to the level we want it to be. You probably won't notice in the video, it's hard to tell contour and whatnot, and it can be deceiving because of the way that land angles around it. But we made this far front corner closest to my garage a couple inches higher, and then it all slopes to the back and it all slopes to that far end. That way, if water ever got under here from any direction, it should make its way to that corner. In that corner, we're going to have a sump pump. There should be no water under here at all, but if there ever was, water line break, whatever, I don't want it staying under the house. I don't want it soggy and muddy. I want it going away. So we're going to do that just as a precaution. Okay guys, we didn't show you the entire dig out every step of the way. Basically, you start out, you've got whatever slope the ground is, and you've got to create a flat spot for your house. Now you could do a sawtooth and have a lower crawl space and work your way up the hill and go over a distance flat and go up, and go over a distance flat and go up. We didn't want to do that. We dug out for one big flat area for our houses, for Brian's, all the way, including garage. On ours, because of the steep slope, and we're on, it's not steep, it's 1 foot and 30 feet.
Yeah.
But our house, the garage end is on the high side, the far end of the house is on the low side, so we're 76 feet long. We had to cut a big pie shape out. Brian's is turned in line with the slope of the land, so his is front is on the low side of the hill, the back is on the high side of the hill, so his could be flat on there. Here we're going to have to cut it out more. So we cut our crawl space out. And basically what we're showing you here, we just did repeatedly over and over until we got this land flat. You needed either to have a Transit, so you can take that stick around and see what depth you're at and just take a little bit at a time till you get comfortable with digging. You could pull a string it'd be a nightmare having to move that string around and check for level.
It's worth buying or renting a Transit, not that much money, and if you're doing a project like this, you need a Transit.
The one we've got was what, a $450?
Like $400 or $450. It's a Bosch Transit. We'll link it in the description below. It's a great Transit, and it's worked really well for us.
But basically, you come in here and you just keep taking wedges of dirt out. Working this bucket, there's a skill to it that we are not that skilled. This is the first time Brian's actually run a skid steer.
I ran the Caterpillar one we had at the very beginning, very little, and it didn't run very well. So I don't count that as running a skid steer.
It's basically like riding in a, what's them HS guys? The
Caterpillar we had was basically like a Shriner's car.
With the offset tire, so it goes, literally, it was like that, wasn't it?
It was bad.
Yeah.
But this one did have a slight learning curve, but it's much like our tractor in that the right handle is the same as the stick on your tractor for your loader, and you tip it in, it rolls, tip it out, it dumps, and up and down. It's pretty simple, and then you got your front and back, left and right.
No matter what you're driving, you just have to learn those controls.
Yeah.
You just have to keep taking chunks of dirt out and getting closer to your level. We started out, I was driving at first. I was only taking a couple inches at a time. I was tired, been working hard for a couple days, and I didn't have my confidence level up. Brian took over, and he come in there and just took about a foot out of it.
I just took a big chunk.
I'm like, what are you doing? When he pulled back, I was like, that looks pretty good. Keep it up. So he's been doing it ever since. He turned out good driver. So anyway.
We learned real quick, when you're wanting to take a chunk out, you need to reference off of your level that you're trying to meet.
So basically, here, okay, right here, we've got this basically in front here where we want it.
Yeah.
So get a spot and just take your time and get that one area clear and flat. Say, this is what I need. Now work off that area and keep going into your other dirt and take most of it off. If it's really thick, like up there, we took a chunk off the top, then we worked our way down and took some more down, and then we got down and we fine-tuned it and scraped that last little bit. And tell them how you do this.
What I do when I'm referencing off of this existing line that I want to meet, I leave at least one tooth hanging over, sometimes two, depending on my spacing.
And we'll show you that in a second.
You leave one or two teeth hanging past the edge that I want to take out, and those teeth are my reference off of my finished grade. So if I start digging into that, I know I'm going too low. If I'm floating on this, I know I'm too high. So as long as I am basically grazing the top of that finished grade that I want,
or darn close.
Yeah, as long as I'm really close to it, I know that this is going to be the same level as that when I get done with my scoop.
Right. It'd be ideal to have this exactly flat and no contours at all, like a tabletop. A good, well-seasoned skid steer operator could come in here and do that, or a guy with a cat that really could just clean
Somebody
it up.
with a D6 or a D8, they can just take a giant swath out. We're using a 7-foot bucket.
Yeah, but it's a phenomenal tractor. It really is, skid steer. But, you know, you just have to take that little bit at a time. We're leaving a little bit high on this side, flowing towards the back, as I said before, and that end is flowing towards that end. That way any water that ever gets under here, if it ever does, it's going to one corner. At least we can get a sump pump and get it out of here.
So now we're going to show you how we use these teeth for referencing, and you'll see how easy it is to take this big chunk of dirt and match that.
Right, and this is the whole process. We could have showed you this entire process. It all comes down to this.
This is what we did the entire time.
The first day, we moved piles of dirt that we already had piled up from other work we'd been doing.
Yeah, that was the video we uploaded that was more of just a cinematic style.
Right, and we did that to gain knowledge of the skid steer. If you're running one and you have other work you want to do besides your foundation, might be a good idea just to run that thing around and move some dirt. Or dig a hole somewhere where the house isn't going if you can afford to.
Just get used to it before you do precision work.
Yeah, because when you start going, we have this was a plantation in the 1700s.
Yeah.
And it's been in the same family forever. Well, there's been nothing but forest here most of the time, but they did have some terrace here at one time. So it could have been prior to the 1700s. You know, this area was very active during that time. So there's these berms that are hard red clay that I don't know how they packed them down.
It's insane.
It's hard as rock. So as you're skimming along in this soil and you got this loose, dark topsoil, and all of a sudden you hit that hard thing, you slide right up the hill. Then when you come off the other side and you try to dig, pretty soon you're nose diving.
Yeah.
So you have to go slow, and you have to keep an eye, where is that tooth, like he said, and keep an eye on that bucket. If you see it starting to go deeper, if this edge is right here, is that high digging into the dirt, and all of a sudden you see it start going like that, stop. because your bucket's going down in the ground, you're going to dig a big hole, and you don't want to do a bunch of, it just gets sawtoothed. You don't want that happening.
Yeah.
Ideally, a professional would get out here and he would run that skid steer, and he knows his bucket, he knows where that thing's at, he knows what he's doing, what he's digging. He knows when he comes up a hill, he needs to tilt that bucket this way and dig in. You know, stuff you learn becoming an expert at it.
You've got years
rookies.
under your belt.
Yeah,
we've got hours under our belt.
Right. But between us, I stand off to the side, and we're not too proud to help each other out.
Yeah.
He's good at driving this thing. I'm good at giving directions. As he's digging along, if it starts sinking, I can say, oh, wait a minute. Plus, I can look at this bucket and see if it's flat. It's hard to tell from inside that skid steer what's flat. You know, am I tilted down? Am I tilted up or what? And you start digging, it's off. So you back up, start digging, it's up. And it's a nightmare. And if you have it tilted down too much, it's going to pull that blade down in the ground. It's not just going to push through it.
Yeah.
So we don't want to do that because we don't want to tear this up. But what we'll do is we're going to come in here first and we're going to point it up. And if you're in that skid steer and you can't see that it's pointed up because you can't see the flatness of this bucket back here at the bottom of it, and you don't know it well because we hadn't run it that much, it's going to climb that hill. It's not going to push through it. So we'll show you that, and then we'll get it level and show you how we go level. And like Brian said, he's going to keep this tooth outside of this pile of dirt, so he's going to watch that tooth right along that dirt just like that.
Yep.
And if it starts going up, then he's got to back up, tip it down a little bit, and go again. If it starts going down into the ground, he's going to back up and tip it up a little bit, just a little, and keep working it until it stays right along that edge. And if you're not totally flat out here, it's going to go up and down, and you just have to go really slow and work it.
Just work the bucket as you go.
And that'd be early on when you're moving lots of dirt, and then once you get a good flat spot, then you can start working it and getting in there. And
speaking of working and getting it, let's do this.
Let's work it and get it. All right, guys, as you can see, that bucket is angled slightly up. We want to cut level with the surface that we already have right here over there at the edge of that mound of dirt there. So if he comes in good and flat, it should cut it right off. And he watches, if you'll see, here's the edge of the dirt right here, and over there that tooth is going to stay outside of that dirt. That is his guide. It follows this dirt right here to make this get to this level. Right now we're going to show you what would happen if he's too high. So come forward. Now if his bucket's tilted up like that and he hits this dirt mound, watch what happens. The tractor's going to climb that hill. It's going to go up. So that is not what we want. So that's why I stay over here and I help him get it level. Since we're not experts at this, tilt it down a little bit more. Now we're going to give that a shot and see. Hopefully that tooth stays the level we want. And go at it slow and easy when you're doing this final grading and see how that tooth is staying. Let me get that dirt out of the way. Okay, you watch that tooth, it's staying right at the surface, and that is exactly what we wanted. Kind of disappears when the dirt starts falling in. And we just graded that out flat, just like we wanted. Okay, first some considerations. This is topsoil, although it's kind of hard. It's all this lighter color soil here. And you want to dig that off and get down to the red clay where your garage is going. This land slopes from the garage downhill the length of our house, 76 feet counting garage. So we came in and scraped all that topsoil off where the garage is going. And because you don't want to put concrete over that. I mean, people do it and they pack it and they get the grass out of there and then they just leave that topsoil. And if you have really thick topsoil, you might have to do it. Here, you get down below that, we've got this hard red clay, which is not all that hard, but you can pack it really solid. It's kind of loose right now because it's wet. When it gets rained on, it gets looser. But you can pack it really solid. So when we clean this stuff out of here, we skim that topsoil off of the top of the clay and try to get down to just clay. We piled all that topsoil in one pile. Then we came back when we got into the clay and we piled the clay in another pile. Then we got the topsoil out of where the garage is going. We're going to use that clay to fill that garage in. Once it's been formed up and we have the walls established, we'll decide how high do we want that garage floor, how much concrete's going to be there. You subtract the amount of concrete from the height you want it, and that's how high you want your dirt to come to. And we'll show you that when we do it, but I'm just telling you now, when you dig your crawl space out, it's a good idea to take the topsoil, dump it in one pile. You can use that to put around your house after you get it all backfilled however you want it. Put the topsoil on top, grass is going to grow better than in clay. use the clay wherever you need to pack dirt. Okay, so this is going to be where our crawl space is at. The wall is going to be right here. That's going to be the wall that separates our house from our garage. So we'll have to backfill this part of the garage, again with some of that clay I just told you about. And then we've got a little more topsoil. We'll use our tractor to get this out. That skid steer was on a time basis, so we had to use it while we had the chance. And we just knocked the very top off. There's clay showing through. It's kind of crooked because that's the way the topsoil was on here. We're going to scrape the rest of this topsoil out with a box blade on our tractor, and then we'll get down to just red clay. That's the way we're going to leave it. When they get the walls established, we get the house built, we'll come back in here and backfill this, get it the level we want, pack it down good with a tamper, and you'll see that in future videos, pour our concrete. Now, to help us get this all level and dug down to where we needed it, we went out and bought this. It's a Bosch Professional BT152. We're going to do a more extensive video in the future and show you how we use this thing and some of the ways to use it. But right now I'm just going to give you the basics. You got to set it up and you got to get this thing level. Well, the top of this needs to be level because that's basically the whole unit is level then. There is a little pendulum type thing in there. I don't know how to describe it exactly, but it self-levels to a certain degree. Obviously, if it's really crooked, it's not going to level because it don't have room. But if you get it close, like with this little bubble level, you can see the bubble moving around. I just lay it this way. I see that that's level there, and I got it level there. If it wasn't level, if one side's high, you can push on these little tabs down here on the bottom of these legs and push it down in the ground. You can adjust these legs up higher, any one of the three, until you get it level. And once it's level, turn this on and it'll shoot out a red light, and it shoots all the way around 360 degrees. Whoops, got to go the right direction. And you see that red light on my hand? Can you see it, Brian?
Yep.
And it sends that red light out, and then the reader on this pole reads that red light, and there's a line right here that lets you know where you're at. Those two little tabs read the height. You got 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot on up. You can go to 8 foot if you run this last section out, which we don't need because we don't have that big a hole. But if you had a basement or something, and you can get taller sticks, or you can make your own if you wanted and put marks on it. But the main thing is you pick your lowest point when you get started, dig down to that lowest point, set this up at that height, and then you can move all over this crawl space as you're digging it out, and you can adjust this and say, well, we're only 2 foot deep. The ground's still really high. We need to go deeper. So then we say we need to take another foot off. Well, you know, you can come in with that skid steer and dig a little bit more, and a little more, a little more, till you're down to the height you need to be. One thing to note, when you're setting that transit in, you saw that red light that was hitting my leg. Well, they send out a pair of glasses that you can use to wear when you're using these. Everybody I've talked to said, oh, those are the glasses that protect your eyes from that red light. That's not what they're designed for. They change the way your eyes perceive the light, and in the daylight, you cannot see that red light hitting this because there's just too much daylight. When you put those glasses on, it helps assist you in being able to see that red light on here without having to look at this or use this sensor. So anyway, don't think those glasses are protecting you like the sunglasses will from the sun. That thing can mess your eyes up if you keep staring into it. You don't want to do that. So try and pick a height that's either lower than your head or above your head, but don't have it at a height that's going to be your eyeballs the whole day long. With that thing shining in your eyes, it's not the best thing for them. Just be cautious there. Okay, up here is going to be a link to a video. The video that we used when we laid this house off. We put 4 pins showing where the house itself was going to sit, an additional 2 pins showing where the garage was going to sit. We didn't lay the porch off yet. We just did the house itself. We knew we were going to go out 6 feet by 46 feet, I think it is, for the front porch. Big front porch in our book. But anyway, we laid that house off. We came out here with this transit and receiver, and we set the transit up on the hill. We started digging on the low end. We found a nice flat spot, and we said, this is going to be the bottom of our crawl space. And we started digging there. Just like we showed you a while ago in this video, we started whittling away till we got a nice level spot. Put this out there, and you can adjust this around. And there's an arrow that points up and an arrow that points down. Currently, it's not reading anything. As we slide up, it starts telling me I need to go higher. It's got the arrow pointing up. That's saying go higher. I'll slide up, and when I get to the rapid flashing, then I am in line with that laser light, and it should be level. So I'd lock this down at that height. And so now if I've picked this spot to be, that's the bottom level of my crawl space, then everywhere I go, when we're running that skid steer, I'm gonna set this down and say, okay, we're perfectly high, the right height. Just like over here, this is all the same height, it's what we want. So we'd leave that. If the ground's a little bit high, then that's when we scoop into it like we showed you earlier. And for anybody who's not, familiar with what's going on here exactly, the footer's going to come down through here for the house itself. It's going to turn that way. The entire house is going to be one level of footer, and then the foundation walls will come up 4 feet off of that, and we're going to backfill away from the house. We're going to be above the ground a good bit right here, and we wanted that so that we could slope everything away from this house, so there's no water going to get under here. You're going to have a slope away from the house in every direction. There could be something, extenuating circumstances come up that causes water to come in here. If there is, we'll fix it. Shouldn't be if we get it sloped right. At least we're giving it our best effort. In addition, the garage, since the existing clay is there, it's been packed over the centuries, so it's good and packed. We'll get this topsoil off of it. That's all the deeper it needed to be. The crawl space is really deep. We're going to have the ground up of the 4 feet high foundation wall, 2.5 feet of it's going to be buried and it's going to slope away. Same thing on that end where the garage is at. So we didn't want to drive down into a hole to get in the garage. So we're leaving this dirt here, and then when we get that formed, just going to step up here. The foundation is going to step up and then go on that way, and that wall will be shorter here. It'll be the same height as this wall, but it'll only have to go a shorter distance down. This hole's already full of dirt. No sense in digging it out and then putting it back. We did dig the topsoil out because it's too loose to pack really, and we'll use some of the clay we pulled out of here to pack in there. Good solid floor for our concrete pour.
All right, guys, well, we hope this helps you figure out what you need to do if you're digging out a crawl space or digging a hole in the ground for anything.
Yeah, and we had little confidence in ourselves initially.
Yeah.
Waiting on different people that didn't follow through in the last year.
We've had a few setbacks.
Yeah. We decided, you know what, we're going to dig a hole and put a house in it. Come to find out, we could do it.
Yeah, you just got to have the right equipment.
Yeah.
Transit really helps.
A Transit and that skid steer.
That skid steer is phenomenal. That's the biggest one we've found in our area for a rent, and it was awesome. Did a great job.
And the thing is, we have a Kubota B2650, I'm sure you've all seen, or most of you. Does a phenomenal job. That Piranha tooth bar probably tripled or quadrupled the ability of that tractor to dig. But still, the tractor is so small. When you go to digging, and it'll push the front end up, the front end loader just starts going down in the ground. Yeah. You can't control that thing.
Not to mention...
Not in hard clay.
Yeah.
The soft stuff, it'll do all right. It did real good on that.
But not to mention, it's an itty-bitty bucket.
Yeah.
And when you go from a 54-inch bucket that's really shallow and really short to a 7-foot bucket that's really deep, it's a big difference in the amount of dirt you can move.
It was well worth the investment. If you tried if you rented a B2650 to do this job, you'd be here 2 weeks and you'd have a mess. We did that with that skid steer. And one of these houses, now that we know what we're doing, in a day, easily. Yeah. And so you may pay a lot more for that skid steer for one day than you do for that B2650, but how much are you going to pay for 7 or 10 days on that thing?
Yeah.
So you got to think about what is the ability of the tractor or the piece of equipment, and what am I going to try to get out of that thing? If you need to do heavy work, get a heavy piece of equipment. You're going to save money in the long run.
If you check the link right here, we have a comparison of getting the big stumps dug out of our property. It was going to cost us $4,000 to rent a machine big enough to dig the giant loblolly pine stumps out of the ground. We had 25 of them in our way of the house.
$4,000 rental, plus insurance, plus taxes, plus shipping down here, plus about 80 gallons of fuel a day. It was big.
It was going to cost us a ton of money. We were going to have $6,000, $7,000 tied up in this machine minimum for 1 week's rental, and we've never driven anything that big. It was going to be a learning curve.
Big learning curve.
Well, we had a guy come dig out our stumps, and he brought his 12,000-pound Kubota thinking, it may do the job. He just wanted to try it. And after 2.5 stumps, he's like, this just isn't going to do it. I'm going to turn my
3 hours or so?
Yeah, took him about 3 hours for 2.5 stumps.
Yeah.
He went and got his 44,000-pound machine, which cost us more money per hour. But watch the comparison, and you will see how many stumps. We did a time lapse of both. They're both at the same interval. And you will see how many stumps he digs up with the big excavator versus the 12,000 pound. It's a huge difference. So you
pay more per hour for that thing, almost twice, but it takes 1/5 or a tenth or something.
It's ridiculous how much he got done.
The time, so you save money by paying more.
Well worth it to have a bigger machine.
Yeah.
If you know what you're doing.
Exactly.
Yep. All right, guys, we've jabbered on enough. We hope you guys enjoyed this. And
Brian's first time running a skinny steer.
a
Skinny steer.
I drove a skinny steer.
Yeah, you did a good job.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun, no doubt. And after driving that thing a few days, I can say I think every vehicle out there should have joysticks for controls.
They're
love
fun.
it. I love it. All right, check back soon, guys. We got a lot coming. We are about to get started on these houses. Finally, it is happening.
That's the truth too. It's gonna happen.
We dug swimming pools if it didn't happen because we got rain coming.
Yeah.
So
somebody made that comment that what are you doing digging a swimming pool? Yeah.
Have a
We're
good
going
one,
to put a
guys.
swimming pool out here though.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Have a good one, guys.
See you.